I see a lot of videos on YouTube about I quit my 9 to 5 and I had no backup plan, or I quit my corporate job and I'm so glad that I did. And I admit I am addicted to these videos too. The freedom of being able to just quit because this isn't the life that you want, the idea that you can quit and go build the life that you like, that gives you freedom and flexibility and that looks sexy and exciting. Yeah, who doesn't want that? Now, I admit I am quite a bit older than a lot of these kids making these videos. And there's something, I feel a little envious around it sometimes. Like I feel, I'm in my 40s, right? So immediately when I think about what if I just quit my job, I'm thinking, what about health insurance? What about retirement? How am I going to pay my mortgage? I think about all the reasons why that would be an irresponsible or, quite frankly, a real dumb decision in the long run. Now, I'm not saying to stick with a job that is degrading your mental health or is super toxic. And I know that I cannot be the only one that watches these videos, but also thinks I can't do that in that way. So, what do you do if you can't quit your 9 to 5 job with no backup plan? Stick around and I'll go over some things to do in order to help you feel a little bit better in that situation. Number 1, use your PTO, guys. It's there for a reason. It's part of your benefits package. If you don't use it, then you are losing out on money when you eventually do quit that job. So a lot of places will cash out, you can cash out your PTO. However, remember, it's taxed at a much higher rate than your typical paycheck would be cashed. So you're losing money when you allow them to cash it out. And taking time off is healthy and appropriate. You should, even if you're not going on vacation or doing something really big, if you want to take a day off just to relax, catch up on errands, if you want to go grocery shopping when it's not crazy busy, consider how you can use your PTO in order to round out your mental health and your life a little bit more. Number 2, remind yourself of what you are getting from this job in terms of your long-term goals. Maybe you want to stay until you're 100% vested in your 401k or 403b, for example, or maybe there's a pension that you need to stay for a certain amount of time to get and you're almost there. Maybe you have some hobbies or travel plans that this job allows you to partake in terms of financially or the great benefits package that they have. So think about the things that you are getting from your job until you can make a change. And you can have a well thought out strategic plan to make that change. So then as you're making the change, your anxiety isn't going up, you're not being reckless, you're not really putting your future in danger. Those of us who are older, we have less time to make up that ground or to out-earn huge mistakes before we retire. Number 3, one thing my dad told me when I was in my 20s and really kind of struggling with that corporate environment or the idea that I'm just a cog in the wheel and these people aren't going to be loyal to me even though I'm a really loyal person, he said to me, as long as they're paying you, you're winning and they're losing. And I found that message to be really helpful at the time. One of the things that it allowed me to do was really think about the job as a stepping stone to the next thing, right? What are my goals? What do I want to achieve, whether that be career-wise or financially? And how does this job help me get there? And probably the most important thing that it did is it showed me the benefit of really depersonalizing the job. So this isn't about me being super loyal to someone and then expecting loyalty in return. It isn't about me working really, really hard and then expecting people to show their gratitude and appreciation. No, this is about I'm gonna come in, they're gonna pay me, and then that is gonna help me get to what I want to do, and I'm gonna strip away all the personalization around it. That is what I needed at that time. Now, I do think I do better in situations where there is more of a personalized approach to it. And if you are in a position where I just need to get through this until I'm vested in my 401k, or until I can find something else that I can safely go to, it's okay to completely depersonalize it. Number 4, consider expanding your supports. Maybe you see a career coach to help you come up with a strategic plan in order to go to the next step. Maybe you see a therapist in order to help you manage the depression or anxiety or burnout that you may be feeling in this job until you can safely exit to the next. I'm not saying to stay in a situation that is severely degrading your mental health or stay in a place that's extremely abusive or toxic. And I know the reality for a lot of people, particularly when you're older, is you can't just jump ship, right? You can't just leave because something is awful in the moment. If you can, then by all means, if it makes sense to do that, do that. Now, some of us, particularly if you're single or on your own, you just can't, there's not the life raft there unless you took the time to put it in the boat yourself. So consider a career coach to help you come up with strategic steps for an exit strategy, and think about a therapist in order to help you get through the emotional side of what it means to not like your job but not be able to quit. Try to remind yourself that those videos that you see on YouTube are a curated portion of that person's life. I hope that that strategy worked out for them, and I hope that it turned into something great and that they love. And remember, sometimes the perception of reality is not the same as reality. So just because something worked out really well for one person, it doesn't mean that everybody it's going to work out if you just jump ship. Doesn't mean you have to stay in there forever. And I am not an advocate for staying in a situation that is absolutely degrading your mental health. And it's okay if you need to take a few beats and come up with a plan before you jump ship. And so that's the next piece of advice, right? It's come up with an exit strategy and write it down. Be thoughtful about it. Don't just, when you're venting with a friend, start sort of willy-nilly throwing stuff out there. No. Again, maybe this is with a career coach, maybe it's with a therapist, but you sit down and you identify, how much money do I need in my savings account? How much is health insurance going to be on my own? Maybe I want to have this type of job offer before I say goodbye to this job and start the next job. Maybe you need to downsize some things. Maybe you need to really set up a budget that you know you can live off of if you plan on taking a pay cut. Come up with a written, feasible, repeatable exit strategy. Coming up with an exit strategy will help you feel more comfortable knowing this is what I need to put in place and this is what I can tactically work on in order to make this move. Okay, make sure that you're also taking care of yourself during this time, right? You know this might be a really emotional time for you, so we need to build up the emotional reserves. What does that look like and what does that mean? Again, we talked about using your PTO earlier. Maybe you don't have a job where you earn paid PTO. So here are the things to think about in order to increase your distress tolerance and build up your emotional reserves. Sleep. Make sure you're getting adequate sleep. Consider body movement or exercise. This doesn't have to be a big thing, even if you're just walking, but make sure you're moving your body. Number 3, nutrition. Make sure you're eating right, eating reasonably healthy, because these are things that are going to help your body feel better, which then sometimes helps our mental health feel better. Okay, our last tip is try something new and try and get involved in things outside of work so work doesn't feel like it's the only or biggest piece of your life. Maybe you join a gym, maybe you go to some meetups, maybe you start a new hobby, maybe you go to the dog park regularly. These are things where you will most likely cultivate some additional friends and trying to get involved with something that you're enjoying to do, and you can start doing things that are new to you and maybe you're excited about them, something that you can look forward to after work. Sometimes when we're in work situations, particularly if we've been there a long time, it makes it even harder to leave because most of our friends are in our working environment. So you are going to want to build up and expand your friendship circle so you have friends that are also outside of work. These are things that can help you feel like you are taking steps and that you are preparing yourself to leave your job when you can't just leave your 9 to 5 with no plan. Now, this channel is for single and childless people, right? And I think there's often a perception that if you're single and you don't have kids, it means you have lots of disposable income, lots of extra money lying around, you don't have responsibilities, that you can be spontaneous and just do whatever you want. And in some aspects, there are times for some people when you can do that, but that's not a carte blanche all the way across the board. The other thing to keep in mind when you're single and childless, not by choice too, is that there's also a thing called the singles tax. And so while it may feel like, oh, I don't have to spend money on kids, I don't have to ask my partner about spending money on this larger purchase, you are responsible for all of your bills 100%. If your income goes away, there's not another income there to help offset that. The other thing that I think about a lot is retirement is on me. And I want to have a retirement where I can take care of myself, I can go do things, I can live where I want. And so I have to really make sure that I am intentionally thinking about that now. And the idea of just quitting a job with no backup plan when I have nobody there in my house who's also making an income feels really freaking scary, right? No matter how difficult my job is. So just because you're childless and single, it doesn't mean that you can just quit your job, that it's a no-brainer to just quit your job. It's not. If you find yourself in that position, rewatch this video so you have some practical and tactical concrete steps that you can take to build that exit strategy and build that ramp so you can quit your job